I'm glad for the opportunity to be able to introduce to you my own film tonight. And I think you're going to need a little help with it, at least those of you that haven't seen a lot of movies and a lot of the new, rather experimental movies for sure. LULU was made we began the filming in 1974, but it didn't reach film festivals until 1978. That's almost 4 years. And it was 4 years of struggling with figuring out what we should do with the footage that we shot in 1974. And also the cast came back in 1977 for a reshoot in which we filled in all of the areas that we felt were missing from the original film. So what you're going to be looking at is it's not really an ordinary narrative. It doesn't move like films that you see today do. It's not naturalistic. It basically, the characters in it are all archetypes. It almost moves like an outline. I reduced everything to the skeleton of the original, but I was really intent on being faithful to the spirit of the Vatican and the Berg Opera, because I felt that, instead of recreating them, I wanted to do something what I felt was a bit new, and it seemed to be new for most of the people that saw it, by putting together scenes together that lead you to a clean line toward the end of its themes, but you're not really getting much of the other stuff filled in. This film is a silent film in theory. It has silent film cards, but the film cards that you're going to watch also have a dual aspect. Some of them I kept very much to the dialogue that was in the Vatican play. He wrote 2 plays called Earth Spirit and Pandora's Box. Took years for me really thinking about this to understand what he was talking about. He has created a character that was really an archetype. She's become a kind of the standard femme fatale in all literature. She's become one of the most famous because she was portrayed in silent movies by a marvelous actress named Louise Brooks. However, there's been 4 versions of LULU, and mine is the 4th film that was made about this material. And so Vatican created this character that he wanted to, leave the feeling that she was an earth spirit. That's the name of the first play. And what does that mean? I think he kept saying, my character is completely innocent. She acts according to her nature. And I think so much of the themes of this film is going to be, he hated the hypocrisy of his age. That is that's the Belle Epoque in Vienna. And he was surrounded by friends and by the talk of the town in Vienna in those days was all about the research of Freud and of Jung. They were all in Vienna. And basically everyone, was talking about this new thing, the subconscious, what was it, etc. And Vatican sort of created this character that basically acts on her normal instincts. He felt that all of the areas of sexuality and sensuality were the areas that were being completely fought against, persecuted. People would not discuss them. It was a subject that couldn't be discussed in proper society. And he understood that there were elements in this that had everything to do with men's persecution of women, of their putting them down, making them helpless. And he railed against the hypocrisy of those ideas. And so what he created is a character to make people actually realize what they were doing. I feel that's somewhat the underlying theme of the film, and that to a woman that's persecuted for her nature is something that is enormously unfair in the realm of things. He adds to this theme the first lesbian that ever walked on the stage in theater, And I think he did that because he felt that people that were considered abnormal, that were not really right, that those people were acting according to their nature too. And of course, today there's all this argument about it. So dealing with those kinds of ideas is why I love the material. It's why that I was drawn to it even in college, and why I really grappled with it so long in making this film. Now, what you're going to find is you'll just have to accept these ideas about silent film, mixing a sound. It's an incredibly complex sound score. And the music from the opera acts kind of as a subconscious sort of flow underneath what is happening. It actually erupts and takes over the film in all of its most expressive and dramatic moments. The other things that are going to be a bit interesting to you probably, or strange, one or the other, is I found these extraordinary erotic satirical illustrations that I thought were astounding for me, that I think helps put the film in the context that it needs to be, the context of its time. And I also think that, you, as long as you understand that the film is about, women, basically, and that it is not, I don't think it's a misogynist piece. I think it really is about all of the ideas that women were going to actually realize in the future. He was an astonishing writer. He was persecuted constantly. People felt he was only wrote about filth and degradation, etc. On thinking about it a little bit more, I realized that the only writer that had even touched these themes was a century before, and that was the Marquis de Sade, who was also persecuted and also considered to be the anathema of civilized world. And I think that once again, he insisted that there is a natural instinct in men and women which deals with sensuality and sexuality completely, devoid of marriage, childbearing. It's just a force in nature that needed to be acknowledged. And I think we understand now that when you do not acknowledge it, you often repress it, and that repression leads to all sorts of very dark events in people's lives. The film is composed like a funnel. It's not like a ordinary narration. And there's a lot of invention and a lot of imagination, lots of dreams, lots of fantasies, all in the first half of the film. I tried to make it as entertaining as possible and as absorbing and entertaining as possible. And then the film, like a funnel, winds up in darkness. And I think that Wedekind was very aware that he wanted his very lively scenes to wind up in the dark, and into that darkness that we don't like to look at. I think that basically is the form of the film. The other things beside the illustrations are the piano music is completely authentic. It comes from the Vienna Cabaret, and that alternates with the Berg through the film. I think that, I think if you understand that you're going to see something that you probably aren't going to be comfortable with, I think then if you get prepared, you will probably enjoy the film more. It's not like a feel-good movie, and it has a very controversial end, which I hope we can talk about. But I hope otherwise that you can sit back and just let the movie happen and go along with it. Thanks.